All right, everybody. Very early here on winter solstice, but we've got an interesting week. It doesn't sound all that pleasing with the title "The Cross to Bear," but for the week of December 22nd through 28th, I think it's going to be a really type of a breakthrough, determined week with all this Capricorn energy. So let's do it. It's early in the morning on winter solstice, and I just popped awake. And so I'm making the most of my morning, just in very Capricorn style. I'm not a Capricorn by any means, but the transits are powerful. Lots of planets in Capricorn. So what we have, if you're new here, we triangulate for two things. We triangulate for the biggest influence. That's this chart. And then at the end, we triangulate for the solution. How should we behave given this energy? And so we solve the solution. We triangulate for that as well. We use different technologies for all. In the influence, we're looking at tropical astrology, the collective unconscious, known as the dream bot. It looks at the world dreams, the literal dreams, and the dream words, and it looks at the most surging words, and we can kind of see where the collective unconscious is. And then the I-Ching we use, and it says determination. Well, that's just a direct match of everything Capricorn. So we got that is the blue circle here. That's the I-Ching. And then the dream bot is a little bit, it's overlapped mostly with the determination because it talks about work and toil, but we also have layers of self, and that's, in my opinion, all this Jupiter in Aries square over to the sun being ego, layers of self, Aries being all about self. So I think that really makes a lot of sense with the dream bot. Then in the astrology, it's the biggest circle here because it's this is just a little taste of the possible, all the energies competing for each other. You have Jupiter that's now fresh into Aries. We have a new moon in Capricorn squared off to Jupiter. We have a whole bunch of planets in Capricorn. We have a Venus trine Uranus. We have some change coming up for Venus. And we have a Mercury conjunct Pluto. Now, Mercury is going to go retrograde, not in this CIRF week, but the next CIRF week before the year end. And it's not going to quite get to a full up conjunction, but that energy is there. And we'll revisit that once Mercury goes retrograde, finishes retrograde, goes back to direct. And I think this is sometimes towards the end of January 2023 where that conjunction will actually go through. But anyway, the overall energy is just grit, and it's very strong with Capricorn, but I'm going to tell you that a lot of these other energies, mainly the square over to Jupiter in Aries, I believe is, you remember that, that yearning or the pressure for optimism, it's still there, but I think that accentuates the Capricorn energy. And others as well. We have a high congruency score, and I think we're ready now. Let's do this. And again, another week of good comments. Thanks for helping out with the algorithm. The winner of this week's Best Comment Award is not for me to say. I think that's the second week in a row with six ups. He says, awesome. Thanks, Chris. I can hear you talking about the microphone comment, and I'm a bit crazy, but that's good and normal for me. I think it does take a little bit of crazy. Oh, finish it. He says, loved all, praying for all. Thank you. And well-deserved, not for me to say, is laying down some comments in multiple places, as did Milos and some others. And big shout out to all of you. I wanted to go I saw another comment I wanted to respond to. Just another quantum wave function says, I treasure real, authentic optimism. I absolutely do as well. I don't understand why the view count is so low. I think I can speak to that. There's a lot of influences there. First of all, this is a side hustle. I'm not hustling for your money. This is just kind of my service to you all, and I hope that this does its purpose. But the point is, I don't put out enough videos, so the algorithm is low on that end. I'm trying to find time to do some other nice things like these shorts and postings and everything else to try to grow the channel, but it's not the main thing in my life. I've got a regular job, a big job that I work throughout each week. So that's a major part. And then I think there is just an element of advanced here. It's an advanced, it's not your typical astrology reading. There's some difficult concepts here. So I think it's more niched in terms of who we're attracting to this channel. I think are the much more advanced type of folks. That's just me. So anyway, thanks for all the comments, everybody, and congratulations to not for me to say. Here's our collective unconscious. And a lot of red arrows. And we had another record it didn't beat last week's surge scores. So we have a number that counts how many words in the dictionary. The dictionary for the Dreambot is, I don't know, like 100,000 words. And so we count each week how many had a positive surge score. And last week was a sort of a record or at least in a long period of time. I hadn't seen that big of a number, but like 351. This week was still high at like 258. So that's interesting. And I think that speaks to the dream websites that are growing. And so it has more words to calculate. So the red arrows are, in my estimation, just layers of self, starting with suit. That's the avatar. Grandmother is the genetic component. Dust is when we die, and the next word is die. There's the robot in us. That's the subconscious. There's all sorts of layers of self. I thought it was really interesting. It didn't take me long to see that one because there's so many of those self words. Then the other one is just the work and toil. And it's construct, it's managed, it's continued, testing, considered. There's a mental aspect to grit and work. So anyway, those are the two memes. The bigger one is the layers of self, in my opinion. And that is important. By the way, that will be a part of our solution. Triangulation. It just so happens. All right. Here's the overview of our remaining days of December. The big news, well, we continue to have this contraparallel between Saturn and Uranus. So that goes on each week. And that makes the square, the protest alignment of that square, very intense, very conflicted. Well, a square is already conflicted. And the two memes with the two archetypes of Uranus and Saturn are almost polar opposites. So already conflicted, with a square conflicted, and now with a contraparallel. So the revolt is big, and the energy is big there, continues to be big. In the next CIRF week, we're going to transition to the 2023. And before that, there'll be the Mercury retrograde, and there'll be a perfect conjunction with Venus and Mercury. And that'll be pretty cool. And Mercury will peel off and start headed backwards. And so we'll talk through that. The big news this week is I'm doing this on the winter solstice. this video. And then on the 23rd, we got the new moon in Capricorn, along with the big stellium. So let's get started. Thursday, the 22nd, you can already see this big stellium, 4 planets, Sun, Venus, Mercury, and Pluto. Mercury is making its conjunction starting its conjunction with Pluto. So that means we're headed for maybe feelings of death and rebirth, or kind of a reset or a transformation of our thoughts. Can probably change your minds, but the Pluto energy is more about a dying part of it and then a rebirth on the other side. Typically that death part just feels really negative, and it's hard to get out of that mindset. Just coincidentally, we're talking about the mind with Mercury and travel and communication. But what makes this extra special, not only is it all Capricorn, and not only is it a conjunction starting, but they're parallel with each other. And that's this area down here. Parallel means that in the vertical spectrum, they're exactly in the same bit of sky. So not that you can see Pluto, that tiny little Pluto way out there, but they're parallel, which means the conjunction that's being played here is more intense than normal. And so that is just a forewarning. If you're feeling like a death of mind or a death of communication, it's just an overhaul. It will be rebirthed in a new, beautiful way. Now, if you're like me and you've got a natal Mercury right around this area, I have a Mercury return this week. So we'll talk through that. That happens to be on the new moon. So this new moon is very special for me in my mind. So you've got in the transits, it wants to overhaul. And in my natal chart at the time, the overhaul is happening in the transits. Now I've got my Mercury return for my natal chart. So a lot of Capricorn energy, and the focus for me, at least, on mind and communication. But for all of us, this is going to be high intensity. And not just Capricorn intensity, just intensity of overhaul of thoughts, overhaul of how you communicate and how you even relate, because this is the next domino to fall is going to be Venus is going to head into Pluto. And the other way you can archetype this or metaphor it is the power that you get with Pluto. It's a very deep inner power. And so it can feel like an empowering Mercury if you're one of the lucky ones and get that energy. And you skip the whole death part. Well, that would feel really awesome, but might be really, really intense. All right. And then locating, Jupiter in Aries, which gives a much higher focus on self as opposed to others. Jupiter's been in Pisces. And, it's a great place. They're both very spiritual. Jupiter and Pisces are very spiritual, but now we move into fire, and our luck is more turning towards ourselves, bravery, passions, self-pursuits. And so anyway, it's not like that's the main focus, but the overall context of where you're going to find synchronicities. That's what Jupiter is, synchronicities and wisdom and optimism. It's going to be about taking care of yourself and self-pursuits and not really feeling all that bad about that. Maybe you have influences in other places in your charts that might add to guilt tripping, but for the most part on the what's good in life is going to be about taking care of yourself. And then this is to note here. We've got Uranus over the North Node in a retrograde, trine over to both Venus and Mercury. So it's not just Pluto starting to change these Mercury and Venus. Did I say Pluto? I didn't mean Pluto. Okay. It's not just Pluto making change to Mercury and Venus. There's a trine over to making it easy to change by Uranus. Uranus makes easy, quick, fast, unexpected changes to the way you think. And wow, so you got both influences, major influences on mainly Mercury right now, but here shortly, Venus as well. And so Venus, the way that we emanate, the way that we want people to see us or relate to others or love or relationships and finance are all going to get overhauled. Alrighty. And then Uranus is going to throw some quick changes on that too. So, start adapting. All right. Now, here is the new moon. This is Friday the 23rd, and the time is 4:16 a.m. Central Standard Time. And as you can see, early in the morning hours, and we've got at 1 degree Capricorn 33 is the new moon. Now remember, for those of you who are familiar with these CIRF reports, we also do the Rave Mandala from Human Design. And the main energies in the last few weeks has been on this transition from Sagittarius to Capricorn. And this is going to be the same gate. It's that treading gate. So that's another accentuation of the Capricorn grit, the determination. It's there. It's going to feel almost divine, like a divine version of that. Like just know that this is your cross to bear. That's why I titled it Cross to Bear. Let's see here. Now, the new moon in Capricorn, which is this lunar cycle, very heavy Capricorn cycle, because we have all of our planets here. In fact, five signs or five planets here in Capricorn called a stellium, 3 or more. And then you got Uranus over here with another Earth energy. So you've got 6 cardinal signs, you've got 6 Earth signs. And so cardinal is very directional. It's very steadfast. It knows what it knows. And it goes after it. And it doesn't get very distracted from it. Doesn't let it. Okay, and then obviously the Capricorn energy is exactly that. So we have also a square over to Jupiter. We've talked about that. Hard to find optimism. We got the most optimistic things in life are taking care of yourself and not thinking bad about it. That's in this cycle. And then the unexpected changes from Uranus are in this cycle. And then I've personally got my Mercury return in here, and really puts a determination into finding the new way to think for myself, the heavy emphasis on the way I think. All right. And then on Saturday, this is the 24th, Christmas Eve. It's also what Bill Donahue, the late Bill Donahue, used to talk about, the rebirth of the sun. So on today, when I'm doing this video, it's the winter solstice, and that's when the sun goes down, goes into its shortest day, its lowest point. And 3 days later, the sun is said to rise again. The sun being a play on words, yes, S-O-N, in terms of what Bill Donahue, he kind of digested the astrological instructions from the biblical standpoint. So it took Bible verses and showed you how it's all correlated with the stars, That was fascinating. But so Saturday, the 24th, is the rebirth of the sun. And then just shortly after, you're going to have that Christmas energy, which is the birth of the sun. See, interesting how all that sort of lines up with the religion. All right. So still have the moon in Capricorn after the new moon. And we have a heavy emphasis on Capricorn. We've got more lines to Uranus. And that's because of the moon. Sun will be doing this as well, probably as early as the end of next CIRF week. That is the trine over to Uranus. That makes easy insights, easy mad scientist energy to everything over here in terms of what you want to get done, but there might be some late changes. This is the inventor too. Capricorn wants to get stuff done. Uranus is the inventor, and that easy energy provides good insights. It's just the change that might be difficult for the Capricorn since it's so cardinal. Then we have this quiet group of sextiles that's going to get stronger as we go along through this week. And these are opportunities with Neptune. So Neptune can throw you curveballs in terms of imaginations and false stuff and whatever. So be prepared for that. But this is an opportunity. And so take a look at your dreams, an opportunity for this rebirth with Pluto, and in line, we're going to have first the moon going past that, rebirth of the way that you nurture your emotional reactions. And so all that's going to get transformed very quickly. And in that transformation is a rare opportunity for you if you pay attention to the Neptune influence. Now, so the trick is to not get, to be able to navigate this well. It's not like you have to ignore fantasy and ignore, mental daydreaming. You have to be present for it. You have to be there to witness it so that you know that you're in a fantasy. Because if you don't, if your awareness isn't there and you go off in your little daydream, then you're lost. Your awareness is lost to the daydream, then it drags your body into whatever that is. If it's negative, if it's fearful, your body goes into the fear response, the fight or flight. If you are aware that you're in a fantasy, then you can either bliss out or change the topic. Whatever it's really up to you. And what I'm saying in this opportunity is, so you have to stay aware of your thoughts. And in the world of nighttime daydreaming, that doesn't make any sense. Nighttime dreaming, there's that Neptune opportunity as well. Lucidity could be a great option for you. You can look up how to become lucid. Might be a great opportunity this week for you. I have a few clients who are naturally very good at lucidity. And strangely, we're trying to connect the dots of they're very, very talented in lucidity, but occasionally there's these dreams where they suddenly find they can't control anything in their dream. In other words, they become less lucid. There's layers of lucidity. One of those is ultimate control over everything. Others are you can just be aware you're in the dream, but have no control. And that's the lowest level of lucidity. So they're generally pretty high in lucidity, and then boom, it drops suddenly across certain daydreams or night dreams. All right, Sunday, the 25th. Merry Christmas to everybody. And we've lost the moon to Aquarius, but we still have a stellium there, still heavy influence in Capricorn. We've lost a couple of the squares. It's decaying out. That Sun square Jupiter, we only have, 4 degrees, 3 degrees, 4 degrees left. So it's waning and it's falling off, dropping off. And we have 4 degrees between Mercury and Pluto. So that conjunction's getting tighter. Remember that climax, or the closest Mercury's going to get on this round, is just 3 degrees away. But still constitutes a conjunction. And this is where Mercury or your relationships start their overhaul. And this might be from, additive with the good wills from Christmas, and giving gives it that intrinsic reward. Maybe that's a part of this, but don't expect to know how all your relationships are going to change. It's going to be a very individualized transition for a lot of you, for all of you. But one thing to note is that Venus is also in the same bit of sky as Mercury, which is in the same bit of sky as Pluto. So it's all very intense. All this creates more for a very intense transformative experience. And for a lot of you might be a more of a tragic or a why is everything dying kind of a thing. Not everything, but more specifically the way you think, the way you communicate. Might have trouble communicating. For Venus, might have trouble relating. Might have a whole change in your financial setup. So be aware of that. Some people say there's some special things happening on Christmas, and we've heard so many dates in the past, didn't even blink an eye. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. Monday the 26th, there's not really a whole lot of new stuff here. This is my chance to talk again about Uranus and Saturn, with the moon making a conjunction with Saturn. So it's going to be very emotional on the side of, or emotionally, and the people who are on the fight of keeping everything the same and authoritarianism, they're going to be a lot more emotional on this day because of the moon. And that's going to be extra conflicted with Uranus, and not to even mention this contraparallel thing. Extra conflicted. All right. So that energy is blocked, and you're going to see probably a heightened state of protest on Monday, the 26th, I would imagine. Tuesday, the 27th. This is a perfection of a sextile between Neptune and Venus. So the climax of opportunity of imagining positive outcomes in this transformation of relating, relationships, finance. So as the energy of transformation of Pluto is happening to Venus, there is a opportunity available for you in the fantasy world, in the Neptune world, in the daydream world, right? So it's time to invoke your divergent mind and start thinking and mind wandering. Just finished a book on ADHD and how we're losing our focus in this world. And part of mental health is this act of mind wandering, just shutting all your screens down, shutting the TV down, shutting the music down, and just staring out the window and letting your mind wander. This is how the subconscious creates connections with what it knows, what it thinks it knows, and creates genuine new ideas. So use that Neptune influence this week. Let me know if you need more information on how to do this, because there's lots of opportunities with this Neptune influence, okay? And now this time on Wednesday the 28th, last day of our CIRF week, Moon and Neptune are conjunct. So now we're a lot more emotionally invested in these fantasies. And that can really drag you in. So that would be more of a curse, right? And drag you in and you not know it. Don't be afraid of thoughts. Don't be afraid of imaginations. Be a witness to them. Be an observer. And that's how you stay rational enough to get the opportunity. And Mercury is going to start its retrograde tomorrow. So on Thursday. So this is the closest that Mercury is going to get to Pluto this time around. What I have written here. Oh, the retrograde starts tomorrow and it's going to end on January 18th. And then it's going to begin its transit direct again, starting this whole process over again. Now, I've got a bonus chart here for you. And this is something I noticed as I was looking into a little bit of next year. But check this out. You see anything? Do you notice anything? There are no squares, and it's a very brief snippet. It's January 7th, it's just midday, and there are no squares. There's only trines. There's one opposition with the moon. That's just balancing. Moon is at home. So anyway, nice, easy day after how many months, how many years of squares. But sorry to say, the squares are going to start up right after that. We'll cover all that as the time comes, but I thought you guys would like that. All right, here's the I-Ching. Cast our coin 6 times. We've got 2 change lines in hexagram 43. Determination. Is there any questions? It's just Capricorn energy. Some resolution is pointing to a breakthrough, but decisive action will be necessary. That's exactly what a Capricorn can do and does do. Persistence of negativity is a factor in human affairs. Lies and deceit are more common and persistent, but should be rooted out diligently. So we have breakthrough, we have decisive action is required. There is an element of negativity and lies and deceit, but that's part of our task, is to root those out diligently. Here's our lines. Line 1, gauge your strength carefully before undertaking a new initiative. Venture only as far as you know you can go with a certainty of success. You know what? That matches the flow state too. Csikszentmihalyi is a psychologist from Czechoslovakia, and he developed these concepts of how important flow state is and how to get into flow. And part of that criteria is a 3-part criteria. Find something meaningful to do, and then there's one other thing, but the third thing is venture out as far as you can go, but not past your abilities. You need to stretch your abilities, but not go past them, and this will get you into a state of flow. And I think of all the zodiac signs, I estimate that Capricorn can get into the flow state a lot easier, and I think just starts losing track of time and just gets into their experience of achievement and can do that for long periods of time. That's my guess. To plunge ahead blindly at the beginning is not skillful, for that's this week. And then line 5 says, uprooting corruption in high places is difficult, but can only be accomplished by a steady and determined effort. There's that again, the corruption, the ownership that we have, the cross to bear is getting rid of and uprooting corruption is part of this week. Corruption tends to reemerge. So once you get rid of corruption, it's going to pop back up like weeds. We have to keep persevering. Only perseverance can succeed against deeply rooted negative forces. Now, remember, we put those change lines in. You get the opposite element. And we get 32, hexagram 32, endurance. Endurance to keep on going. Well, I mean, that's a perfect match to determination, isn't it? This is the solution, though. This is telling you how best to behave this week. And it says endurance is cultivated when determination is coupled with flexibility. So everything we just said about Capricorn, all we do is we add in a little bit of flexibility. And boom, you've got major endurance. Endurance implies flexibility, not being locked in position. Only by adapting to change can we stay in the race. Continuity is achieved through movement, not by keeping still. By actively changing, but stay strongly connected with your roots. All right, now we go into our conversion chart. We put the new moon in here, which was on the 23rd of December. And as I said before, we're in that same rave gate of 10. And we have the Sidereal Sagittarius solution. So a lot of the sameness, but the line has changed. So the gate's the same, 10, but it's a different line. I'll go through what that means here. Gate 10, same. Does this look familiar? Treading. The underlying code of behavior, which ensures successful interaction despite circumstances. That's what you're going to need as you carry the cross or bear your cross. But we went from the hermit up to the opportunist. This is for this lunar cycle. The opportunist doesn't like to miss opportunities, right? And we talked a lot about where your opportunities are going to come from already in this report. But the rave says the acceptance of norms until a successful transformation can be engendered. Transformation that is transcendence to a higher code. The maintaining of behavioral patterns until the right moment and opportunity for transformation. So, heavy week on, not heavy as in bad, but a very important week for transformation. This broadcast is brought to you by Intervention Therapy. Got some free materials there on intervention.com if you're interested. All right, head over to intervention.com. Now, one of my favorite pictures of grit. Now, no matter how old you are, if you're in a human body, you have some form of grit. So this week is about fostering all of that you have, and make sure you're into tasks that are very meaningful for you and get in the flow. And grit won't be hard. Carrying the cross, bearing the cross won't be hard per se. It's just what you do. And the why component is so important as well. Why do I do what I do? But not while you're in the flow. When you're in the flow, you don't even know. You're not thinking there, really. You're just experiencing. You're embedded into the experience. And I think that's what this gal, who's demonstrating very much grit, is experiencing. She's not concerned at how much she's doing right now. She's just doing it. She's in it. She's in the grit and doesn't know she's in it until, in hindsight, when she starts getting tired or winded or cold or gets to the side and gets out of the boat, that's when it dawns on her, wow, I worked hard. Or not, as the case may be. All right, here's the overview of the influence. There are two main influences this week being felt as one: breakthrough and determination. Capricorn energy is absolutely dominant with a big stellium and a new moon this week. All things Capricorn, all things determination, and a sprinkling of breakthrough in there. And I think a lot of you are feeling that energy, by the way. Things are happening. All right, here's our solution slide, and we're going to triangulate with the I-Ching 32. It's just endurance, determination with flexibility. And then the rave is the same treading, but the new line is the opportunist, transcendence to a higher code. Don't change behavior to capitalize on an opportunity. And then we have Sidereal Sagittarius. So put all that together, and here we go. Our CIRF solution combines the practical determination of Capricorn and the fire boldness of Sagittarius. This makes a powerful breakthrough opportunity for all of us. So first of all, what shall we do with our determined energy? Seek and ponder the rave gate 10, line 4, the opportunist. In other words, read this line 4, transcendence to a higher code. Don't change behavior to capitalize on an opportunity, but contemplate on transcendence to a higher code. And then shut all your screens down, turn off the music, turn the TV off, stare out the window, and just let your mind wander and see what you get. This will help you, hopefully, on what shall we do with our determined energy. You can and should change your behavior, but not to gain advantage or seize an opportunity that isn't right for you. That would be a service to self opportunity. Instead, you should plan and carry out behaviors that transform your life. Don't waste this week's energetic layout. Really try to reach transcendence and the higher code of true happiness, satisfaction, and joy. This Christmas, give yourself the gift of sitting down and earnestly planning your highest gift to humanity. Only by way of bringing forth your true, unaltered, best, core, true, unique, talented, higher self. And never give up. The phrase that I would like to use this week, you're welcome to use it too, or find your own. It's like a mantra each week. I'm going to consider saying, I am becoming one with my highest self. And that, I think, for me, matches the higher code. It matches the word transcendence. And it also matches the word transformation of mind and all things Venus, becoming one with my highest self. All right, everybody, what else do you all need? What can make this report better? Go ahead and give me your info, suggestions, ideas. Give me your mind wanderings, right? And if you haven't subscribed, if this is a help to of you, then go ahead and subscribe. If you're on BitChute, subscribe. Our viewership on BitChute is going up, but the amount of subscribers is frozen. We're pretty much frozen at 1951 on YouTube. So let's get that one up to 2,000. And then what looks nice is big shout out to Rumble. Folks on Rumble are great. Getting a decent amount of views. It's our lowest of the 3 platforms. But I'm grateful for all of you. And that one appears to be growing very slowly as well. So shout out to Rumble. All right, what else do you all need? How can I help you? All right, well, Merry Christmas. Happy new moon in Capricorn. Enjoy this gift of bearing your cross this week. And hopefully you can get into the flow state while you're bearing that cross so that it doesn't feel like grit, but you know that you're pushing forth something very precious, very magical, very meaningful. That was the other criteria for flow states. It has to be meaningful for you. Find something meaningful. Set a goal and accomplish it. And then push your abilities, challenge your abilities, push outward, but don't go too far in abilities. You have to have some ability to carry it out, but push those abilities. All right, that's it. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Love to all, light to all, light to humanity. I think this is going to be one hell of a week. Take care, everyone. We'll see you next week.